Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Natalia Ermolaeva. I'm the member of the International Professional Association of Psychologists, and I'm the representative of this association in Italy. I'm taking the interview with the noble people of our profession in Italy. And today my guest is a famous Italian psychiatrist and transaction analyst. Please welcome Professor Dr. Marco Mazzetti. Thank you to come here for this interview, Marco. And my first question to you will be, probably it's the most common question to you, but still, why transaction analysis? Why have you chosen this method?
This is a very long history. If you are plenty of time, I can do it.
We have some time, yes.
I was a young boy, 18, 19, more or less.
Okay.
I just finished my high school and was ready for the university. And I was also very depressed. So I spoke with my father, and I said to my father, who was doctor as well, "Father, I need someone who help me." And he said me, "Oh, go to speak with this friend of mine. He's a psychologist. He's a very good man. Go to speak with him." Mm-hmm. He was a priest, a Catholic priest and a psychologist. He was living in some kind of monastery, something like this, not far from here, on the Lago Maggiore, a beautiful place. So I took my motorbike, I went there, and I had a talk with this man of about 1 hour. This man was so important in my life, and I can't remember his name. Even his face. I just remember beautiful windows with a view on the lakes, nothing else. But I remember that he said to me, "Marco, you are going to Rome for the faculty, and when you will be there, look for someone working with a new psychotherapy just coming from America. The name is transactional analysis. I think this is very good for you." He just had heard something about this. It was during the 70s, so Eric Berne died a few years before. When I went to my faculty, in autumn I started my studies, and in spring I've seen an announcement in the faculty stating that in the Institute of Psychiatry a new school of psychotherapy coming from America will be presented, transactional analysis. So I remembered and I went. And this presentation, this very short workshop of about 2 hours, was taught by a doctor. She was specialized in neuropsychiatry, and the audience was very, very small. A friend of mine who came just to accompany me, a couple, a girl and a boy in love, that spent most of their time kissing each other and nothing else.
Okay.
So I was the unique person really interested.
Okay.
But this woman didn't lose her courage and offered the presentation just for me. And 1 week later, I went to knock to her office. At that time, there were no telephone, etc., because no mobile phone, nothing like this. You have to go there and knock. Entered into her office, and I had my first session in psychotherapy. Yeah, I was 19.
Okay.
When I came out from this office, after this first session, I spoke to myself and said, this is what I want to do in life. But I have too many troubles. I will never able to do this. These were my thinking that day. And I remember very well this moment. And now I became a psychiatrist. And teaching a transactional analyst.
Okay, this is
Isn't
very
the story?
interesting. So it was like it was something that was doomed to happen to you, basically. There was
Yes.
no another way that your life would continue.
Yes, however, I have to say that I don't trust very much just in the case. I think that in lives of people, we usually have several good options. We are just to catch the right one at the
Okay.
right moment. So very probably, if I didn't met the right person and the right transactional analysis, I will not choose transactional analysis.
Yeah. But that was the situation for you when there was the consequence of situations that lead you to this profession. Do you believe or do you think that everything in life is already, if something happened, it happens for something?
I have to say that I met probably a couple of psychologists before, and I didn't consider them that they deserve a second meeting. So I think that when I saw this woman who became my therapist and later my teacher, my intuition said, this is the right way for you.
Okay.
So this was the
So
real
that was
reason.
an intuition at the end.
An
Okay.
intuition. I felt that was the right option for me. Almost 50 years later, 45, I have to say that was the right way for me.
Okay.
Because I really trust in the philosophy of transactional analysis,
Okay.
in the practice of transactional analysis, in the depth of the thinking of transactional analysis. This is the reason why I devoted my life to this.
Okay. This is what you really like in this transaction analysis.
What I really like in transactional analysis is the idea that the power is in the patient.
In the patient.
Yeah, the power
Okay.
is in the patient. It's the patient who knows the best way for her or for him.
Okay.
This is where the power is, where the knowledge is. We are just to do a work more or less like what Socrates called the maieutica, maiosis, which means the art of giving birth. Our goal is not to teach a way for the people, but just to help people to find their own way,
Their own
because
way.
they know.
Okay.
And this idea is deeply transactional
Okay.
analysis.
Okay, that's interesting. This I was never thinking about. And you are very, as I see, from how you get into this profession, since you was a very young boy, and now you are still talking about it. You remember every detail, and this is a kind of a passion into this. And my question would be, where come from this inspiration?
Well, I think I came on this earth to become a doctor.
Okay.
I'm absolutely sure. I am a doctor, and I like very much medicine. For several reasons. I'm very curious about. I always been very curious about the human body and the human soul as well, and I like to take care of people. So I just could be a doctor, I think.
Okay. But
Then my career as a doctor changed a bit. At the very beginning, I took my specialization in pediatrics and I worked as a pediatrician. During those years, I worked in several undeveloped countries, in Africa, in Asia, in South America, and I liked this kind of work. Then when I came back to my passion for psychiatry, and I took my second specialization in psychiatry. Mm-hmm. And I discovered that my passion for taking care of people was more satisfying for me if I take care of their soul, yeah, more than just their body. Mm-hmm. And I discovered that this special moment, which is the relationship between, the intercourse between two human beings, is something so special, so unique, so precious, that I don't want to renounce this. Mm-hmm. And I started to enjoy this work. Each time that a patient comes into my office and we sit each in front each of other, I have the feeling to assist, to be present at a kind of miracle.
Okay.
The uniqueness of each human being. And I love so much this moment. Okay. Just stay with the other, accompanying the other to discover what they need, their options, the sense of their existence. This is such an enthusiasmatic thing that I can't stay without this. Sometimes life offered me some good option, and I catch the option when the option comes. A famous philosopher, I like very much philosophy. Have you seen, I spoke about Socrates. Yeah. This is Agostinus from Hippona. In art, Sanctus Augustinus, Augustine.
Saint Augustine, okay.
Saint Augustine in English, but I was speaking in Latin. Yeah, yeah. He said that the future does not exist. Just exists the present of the future. It means the way in which today, in the present, we think to the future. There is not a real future. For instance, if I think to my future in 20 years, when I will be more than 80, my main concern is, I will be still able to run a marathon, because this is my biggest passion in life. But probably when I will be 80 years old, I will not take care anymore about marathon. So it's difficult to make project. Very often the project failed because we make a project in a time of life in which some things are interesting for us, and when we arrive at that time, we are not anymore interested.
We're not anymore, yeah.
So I prefer to catch the opportunity when they come.
Okay.
And I don't know what are the next opportunity in my life, next year, in 5 years, in 10 years. I wait for the moment.
So you live with the present day, basically, and you are
Basically.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the moment of the retirement, not to stop to work, but to receive the money for the retirement. So I'm sure I will work more relaxed because I will not have the need of money.
Okay.
Just this.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much, Marco. And do you remember by any chance your first patient?
Oh, not by any chance. I remember my first patient very, very well.
Wow. And? I mean, how old you were at that time?
1980. I was probably 27.
Okay, so a very, very young guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And if there's any happened to you that during the work with the patients, there were some failures, I would say, something that was not going. If this happened to you, how did you overcome this in your life?
Failure
In the sense that
is extremely common.
extremely common.
Yeah. And to make mistake also is extremely common. At the very beginning, I was so frustrated each time in which things were not running as I was hoping for.
Yeah.
I was extremely careful when I was working at the beginning. I was recording each single session with each patient, and then after the session I was hearing again each single word of the session, so each session was the double of the time. Then I was transcribing, making the transcript of some piece of the session, and then I went to my supervisor with the transcript, with the record, discussing with her about this. So it was extremely tiring. But I was so passionate. It was fun.
Yeah,
for me.
I see
So I could discover my mistakes there, and day after day, week after weeks, etc. I discovered that the mistakes are, first of all, opportunity. So we learn a lot from our mistakes.
This is true.
And this is the reason why I wrote an article for the Transactional Analysis Journal probably 10 years ago, more or less. I don't remember well. Called Teaching Trainee to Make Mistake. How to teach the trainee to make mistake in a professional way. Which means learning from our mistakes.
So you are a person, very thorough person, very passionate person. Which other features of character of yours are helping you to do this work that you are doing?
I don't know. I'm very passionate for several things. My bike, running the marathon, and my work.
Okay.
I'm passionate about art as well.
And philosophy.
And philosophy.
Okay.
And literature.
Literature.
And Internazionale Football Club.
Okay.
My football team.
What is your favorite football team?
Internazionale.
Inter.
Inter Milan.
Okay.
So several things.
So this is your main resources, this energy that you are taking from making all these things that you enumerated now. Sport. This is what gives you an energy to continue. And this is your main resource, right?
I think that it's very important to keep our body in a very good condition.
Okay.
You have to be strong, healthy, to work well. So sport is a passion for me, but it's also a need.
A need. Okay.
To work well, to be healthy, etc.
So,
but I think one of the main resources in my work I've learned after years is, I think, humility. So it's connected with what I said about mistakes. So you have to always be ready to make mistakes and to learn from our mistakes.
okay.
So during one of the first sessions with my patient, when we took the decision, I usually offer to my patient to have 4 or 5 meetings just to know each other. During this period, I invite them to consult other doctors as well, in order to choose the person they really prefer. And then when they decide to start a psychotherapy, I said a couple of things. The first one is, you are very lucky. You found me. I am a great psychotherapist. Because I think I'm really good in my job.
Good.
And the second thing I said, but there is a condition to work with me. Even if I'm a very good psychiatrist, I'm a human being and I make mistakes. If you want to make a psychotherapy with me, you have to commit yourself to say me each time in which something I do, something in which you don't like something I'm doing. Because I know that I can learn from my mistake and even to find a solution for my mistake.
Yeah, okay.
But to do this, I need to be aware of my mistakes. And only you can show me when I make mistakes. And so if you accept, okay. If not, you have to look for another psychiatrist. They accept.
This is very interesting because I never met any doctor, any psychologist, psychiatrist who would say these words. But I think it's only right to say like this. You are in a more confident situation like this. And I found another one feature of your character is self-confidence.
Yeah, I am quite confident that I can solve the problem I create. So when I make a mistake, usually I'm able to find a way to solve the problem I create.
Okay.
So, but I've learned. I started this work 36 years ago. So it's something that I've learned year after year.
And I've read these two words that I did not understand quite, like cross-cultural analysis.
This is a topic on which I focused a lot.
Okay.
Partly because my experience when I was a young doctor around the world. Partly because when I came back to Italy, I started to work with the refugees in my country.
Okay.
And I'm still working a lot with the refugees that, who very often are traumatized and they need psychological help, psychological support. So I devoted a big part of my professional life to study the cross-cultural psychiatry, the cross-cultural psychotherapy.
Okay.
How psychotherapy can work through the different cultures. And I discovered that transactional analysis is a very powerful tool in this sense, but it's not for a case.
Okay.
If you take the first book on transactional analysis that Eric Berne wrote, Transactional Analysis in Psychotherapy, just in the first page, in the introduction, he said, more or less, the principle of the structural analysis in transactional analysis have been tested in more than 30 countries with very different culture. And it showed to work very well everywhere. Eric Berne has been a traveler. His first trip has been in 1937 in Turkey, Syria, and Lebanon.
Oh.
He was not yet a psychiatrist, he was just a doctor, and he was starting his specialization in psychiatry. And he wanted to see, he said, I want to see Europe before the Second World War. He was sure that the Second World War was coming. And went to Turkey, to Syria, to Lebanon to study the different way in which people were treated on a psychiatric level. And he wrote his first article on psychiatry was, the title is Psychiatry in Syria. And he was describing in this article the psychiatric hospital in Aleppo, Syria. Very interesting. And then he spent a big part of his life traveling and published a lot of articles on cross-cultural psychiatry in testing transactional analysis. So it's part of transactional analysis, this soul of internationality. Okay. And it's not for a case that the country, TA is extremely spread all around the world. The country with more transaction analysts is the Japan.
Really?
You could not imagine, but Japan, but in Africa, in India, for instance, in Singapore, everywhere there are transaction analysts because it's what.
And there is any difference between the regions? I mean, in the deepness of their understanding, or this is all around the world exactly the same?
Well, in each country, the same principles are understood in a different way because each language is a quite different way of understanding of the same concept. I remember when I've been in Japan and I was speaking in a conference. It was very strange because I was saying very short sentence, and this sentence became long and long and long and long when the translator was translating. And I was surprised. I said all these things. But the reason is that the language is quite different. They do not have, in several cases, they do not have the same word that we have for the same consonant. So they have to construct long sentences to explain the same concept. And probably is the opposite as well. I don't know Japanese, I can't say. So there is a need of inculturalization of the concept of transaction analysis. But anyway, it works very well, and we understand each other very, very well between transaction analysts. I served in the board of the International Transaction Analysis Association, and I was in a board with a Russian, a Japanese, an Indian, and South African, Brazilian, and we worked very well together. We understood very well.
Okay, this is interesting. And I know that you was also traveling in Russia, as you mentioned to me before. What could you say about your trip to Russia? And you said you were teaching there, right? The transaction analysis. And where was it? I mean, in the university, in some university?
No, I was in a workshop.
Or it was a workshop? Okay.
Organized by a Russian Association of Transaction Analysis.
Oh, okay.
Well, the last time in which I've been there, I was really impressed because the first time in which I went to Moscow was 1984.
84, okay.
And when I came back last time, I never have been in Moscow during probably more than 30 years, and I've seen really another town.
Another town.
I remember the Moscow in the Soviet era. I went to sleep in the Metropole Hotel, just in front of Bolshoi, in 1984.
Good memories. Good memories in general.
The town has changed so much. Then my Russian colleague, I knew them very well, and well before come to Moscow because we met around the world in conference, etc. And I always loved the warmth of the people.
Okay. What was your most important decision for the last 5 years, if there was any?
I ran my first marathon.
First marathon.
And it's a joke, but it's not really a joke because I didn't really have any major decision in my professional life. The idea of writing a new article, but not any main decision during the last 5 years. More in my personal life, yeah.
Yes, in your personal life.
In my personal life.
So,
a couple of years ago, when it was my 60th birthday,
okay.
I take the decision to run my first marathon. But unfortunately, I had a problem in my leg. I couldn't train very well. So I decided to renounce to the marathon. Instead, I could bike very well. So I went to the highest pass in the Alps by bike.
Madonna.
Passo dello Stelvio, Stelvio Pass. And then when I completed this legendary experience, my leg recovered and I could run the marathon as well.
As well, Madonna.
So this was very important in my personal development, because it was a way to take distance from some kind of prejudgment I had about becoming old. My idea of a 60 years old man was the idea of an old man, really. Because when I was a little boy during the 60s, people with 60 years old were old men. So my decision was to show to myself that it was possible to live these last years of my life in a way different from my mental idea of what a man, a 60 years old man or 70 years old man is. So it has been a way to free myself.
Okay, and you did well. Not all people. I mean, maybe only you that I know that making these achievements. And by the way, about the achievements, what is your main achievement that you are proud of from your point of view in your life?
Probably my relationship with my trainees. Well, I've been a very lucky man. I've been honored by the Eric Berne Memorial Award, by the gold medal of EATA. I had a lot of acknowledgement here in Italy. I received the gold medal for the public health. For one of the activity I ran, I didn't receive my activity, obtained this medal, so it's not for me personally, but I have had a lot of this kind of acknowledgement, but this is not really what, these are not the main achievement. The main achievements are my patient going well and probably my relationship with some of my trainees. There are some trainees of mine living with who spent years with me, and to see them become better than me, it has been a joy. Because some of them are really are becoming better than me. Because they are learning all I know, because and they know more. They learn from others as well, or from other experience.
Okay.
So to see that the young are better than the old means that the humanity is going ahead.
The humanity, the new generations. And this is absolutely fantastic. And speaking about the new generations, you have 3 kids. What advice you would give to your kids for life?
I have a lot of suggestions for them, but they do not follow any of this.
Any main one.
The main one is to work hard.
To work hard.
If you don't work hard, you will not have any significant achievement. In every activity, in music, in sport, in art, and work, you will not have any achievement if you don't work hard.
And how about the people who, like Mozart, for example, who started playing the piano when he was 4 years old? This is the talent. How about the talent?
I don't know. Well, Mozart is really a special one.
Special example.
A special example. However, in sport psychology, people said said that to become a champion in a sport, you have to practice at least 10,000 hours in this sport. It means a lot of training, a lot of exercise. When I was a young boy, I was a skier, and I was having the ski races, etc. So I tried to count how many hours I trained from 14 to 18. And I arrived at the conclusion that I trained for about 3,000 hours.
Only?
And this is probably the reason why I never became a champion.
You think so?
It's a matter of talent. I don't know. The main champion in sport said, no, it's not talent, it's just training. Probably what makes the difference is the passion for the sport.
Okay.
I remember when I was a skier, I was training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, on Saturday, and then Sunday morning, the race. Just after the race, I was exhausted, and I wanted to come home. But the stronger of other young skiers said, no, we have to ski again. They were never tired to ski. Probably the passion is the difference. I'm working with a young football player of the main Italian football team sometime. I'm very lucky because they went to search me.
Okay.
And I've seen this young boy, 15 years old, 16, 17 years old. They train every day from 2 to 6. Every day, morning at school, afternoon in the football place to train. So they are not bored. They every day are enthusiastic for this. So I think more than the talent is the passion.
I see.
I passed the 10,000 hours, probably 30,000 hours, just doing my job. This is the unique sport in which
the unique sport where you really succeeded a lot.
So probably it's the passion.
Yeah, it's dedication and it's passion. I wanted to ask you also about your time being the president of the European Association for Transaction Analysis. How was this time for you, and what it gave to you?
More than speaking of my presidency, I prefer to speak of the about 15 years I spent in different service in the ATA, because before to become the president, I've been the chairman of the Council of Certification. It means the committee who is organizing all the certification exam in Europe. And then I've been chairman of the Professional Training and Standard Committee. And then I became president of the ATA. So I prefer to speak about 15 years of service in different roles.
It's a very good background.
Yeah, because what I really learned for this, I started at, I was 40 years old, so I was quite younger than now. And I had the chance to work with a colleague quite older than me. When I was 40, they were 55, 60 years old. And I learned a lot from them, a lot from them, both professionally and on a human level, because he's so rich, so human in their relationship. So it has been a great experience. Well, I improved my English working there, and I experienced the pleasure of working in a cross-cultural way with colleagues from all over
the world,
Europe and the world as well.
Can you please continue? To be a psychiatrist is. Please continue. What to be?
Take care of people. Take care of people, being on the side of people, which is not so probably not so common. No, probably it's quite common, but not everybody see the profession in this way. Even in my field, in our field, there are some colleagues who think that they have the knowledge and they have to apply the knowledge to the other. Probably from my side, from my point of view, it's more a matter of empathy, to stay with the other, to understand the other. And empathy is a complicated matter. Often people think to be empathic because they think that in the place of this person they would feel this way, etc. This is not empathy. This is what I would feel if I were there. But it's not empathy. Empathy is to stay with the other person, ask the other person, and invite the other person at expressing their personal experience of life. He understood this, and then test if we are well understood. Saying, so what I have understood of your experience is that, and when they said, yes, you understood me well, so this is empathy, not before.
Okay. And what is happiness for you?
Kilometer 42 of a marathon, which is a metaphor.
Yes.
Happiness for me is to devote myself to something and arrive there.
And arrive there.
Marathon is a metaphor.
Yes, it's very precise. I would like to thank you very much. It was my pleasure to having you here, and thank you very much for the interview, Marco.
It has been a pleasure. And even recall my nice memory of Moscow and of Russia.
Okay, thank you.